The AFC South edition of the NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by our Patreon. Score exclusive perks contests and contests including our NFL win totals, contest with the $1,000 prize. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We're also brought to you by our Parlay Play. The Parlay Play is a lead pipe locking in parlays with player props all over the country. Go to parlayplay.io and use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit today.
I'm just about that action, boss.
You have to be kidding me. That is impossible.
I'm raising the ante. Anybody wants any deal?
Jordan Davis, dog. Jalen Hurts, dog. AJ Brown, dog. How many of you want to eat a W tonight?
And welcome, everybody, to the NFL Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Oh, Dylan, they saved the best division for us. We talking AFC South. If you're wondering who you're listening to, I am Ryan McIntyre, a.k.a. Moneyline Mac, and this is our first show together. Dylan, I know we work on the NFL Gambling Podcast all together last year. This is the first time we are working together, so please welcome aboard Dylan Rockford, a.k.a. Rock, with 2Ks 24. His Twitter handle's on youtube.com/NFL Gambling Podcast. What's up, my friend?
What's going on, Ryan? Good to be with you. Good to finally be on a pod with you. I know we worked together with the NFL page, but first time on the pod. But yeah, and they give us the AFC South. So amazing. I know I was just recording with Scott the other day. We go from the AFC East. Now we're going to the AFC South. But yeah, good to be with you. A lot to talk about. And this might just be a shit show. We might just be shitting on some teams today, but we'll give it a go.
Indeed, we will, and it's crazy because we'll dive in depth to some of these odds. But if we rewound 1 year ago today, and I told you the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to be equivalent to the Kansas City Chiefs in a division odds favorite headed into the 2023 NFL season, you would drug test my ass right on the spot because I can't believe that we've got to this point. How about you?
Yeah, no, I can't believe it. I mean, going from like 2021 where Titans won 12 games and now I guess Jacksonville just overthrown them in the division. They got rid of Urban Meyer and then they got a competent adult in the room and then they took over and now they're the division leaders and, pretty chalky for them to win the division.
No doubt. And just to rewind last year, 2022, before we dive into this year, 2023, Jacksonville gets hot. They finished 9-8. They actually, you could argue, probably should have lost that game in Week 18 against the Tennessee Titans. Had to come back from double digits, 2 scores down. Tennessee finishes 7-10. They really stumbled down the stretch, losing their final 7 games after starting 7-3. Indy also lost their last 7 games. Complete train wreck. 4-12-1. New coach in, new quarterback in this year. And then Houston actually overachieved and went 3-13-1 with Lovie Smith. And then he gets shown the door because he beat the Colts in the final game to not get the first overall draft pick. Before we dive into 2023, and I also should say, Dylan, the Jaguars were able to win a playoff game too and push the Chiefs a little bit in the divisional round. A crazy comeback coming back from 30 points down. What were your thoughts on this division last year?
I thought it was kind of up for grabs down the stretch. Like you mentioned, they were literally no one could win the game and get out of their own way. But you're right. Jacksonville coming back from the Chargers over 30 points to come back and win and then give Patrick Mahomes. He got hurt in that game, came back and, gave them a run for their money. But yeah, overall, I thought you mentioned it. Texans, I think they overachieved. Colts, they were a shit show as well. Titans, they ran the Titans ran into their own way, and Jacksonville barely won the division. And I agree, they should have lost the last game of the year to the Titans. But yeah, it was kind of a domino effect of people getting in their own way in this division. And I guess just Jacksonville led the league in that. So they won 9-8 and they wind up winning the division.
Yeah, they did go 9-8, and I feel like their season really turned around after, I think it was, I don't know, I can't remember if they went to Germany or London. It was one of the two. It was a 9:30 game, and they lost to Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos, the famous high knees games in the aisle. So they actually lost that game, fell to 2-6, but then were able to run off 7 out of 9 coming down the stretch, including after the bye. They only lost one time to Detroit. Able to beat quality teams like Dallas. They won at the Jets as well. I know you're a Jets fan. That was like the final Zach Wilson moment that I can remember.
Yeah.
They also were able to beat Baltimore during that stretch. And I think the headline in this division is, can Trevor Lawrence now go from taking that 8-game sample size in his first year under Doug Pederson to taking it to a whole nother level in year number 2? Anything specific storylines headed into this year in terms of potential breakout guys before we head into the odds for 2023?
Ooh, interesting. I guess my eyes are gonna definitely be on the quarterback situation in Tennessee. I mean,
Yeah,
they got their first 6 games are very tough, and I would not be surprised if they start 1-4, maybe 2-4 going into their bye, and then here comes Will Levis. Because I think if Vrabel has a down year, I don't think he should, but I think if they do have a down year, I think, he could be on the hot seat right now. So they drafted him. He's definitely their future moving forward, but I don't know. I do like, I wouldn't say I like Ryan Tannehill. I just think he knows the system a little better, and I think he is the right choice to start the season. But they drafted Will Levis at 33 for a reason. He is their future, got a fully guaranteed contract. So I think one storyline in this division I'm looking for is the QB situation in Tennessee.
Yeah, and to piggyback right off that, I mean, you got the 2 other young quarterback in Richardson in Indianapolis, and then Stroud in Houston. So potentially, maybe we have 3 rookie quarterbacks if Jacksonville just completely runs away with this. But before we dive into 2023, I got to talk about the Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon, because you need to do your part and sign up for the Patreon to get access to exclusive contests, including the NFL Win Totals contest with a $1,000 first place prize. Besides season-long contests, they also have weekly contests for our patrons, plus a monthly SGPN story podcast, completely ad-free and full behind-the-scenes stories from SGPN from all these years. Hell, there's even a Discord channel just for you patrons out there. This is your part. Do your part to prevent corporate gambling from winning. Do your part and sign up today at the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. All right, Dylan. We're back on the NFL Gambling Podcast, talking AFC South. First thing before we go into this, when typing up these odds, I was like, man, the 3 worst teams in the AFC odds-wise are all in the same division. And, of course, we're diving into them. So we'll lead it off with Moonoff's Houston Texans, over-under set at 5.5, depending on what book you got. 10-1 to win the South, 100-1 to win the AFC, 200-1 to win the Lombardi. Early lean before we dive into the schedule, game by game.
Yeah, early lean for me. Well, I'll start with. There's a lot of excitement with this team. Moonoff came on the pod. A lot of young guys. You got a new head coach, D'Amico Ryan, new QB. They're trying to lay a foundation down there, especially on defense. Trading back up. To get Will Anderson. I think they're going to be a little more set on the defensive side of the ball. I think on offense, there are going to be some growing pains with this team. I don't know. I like them. I think there's a lot of upside to them, but I don't know why. I'm looking at the book that I use. It says 6.5 right now. For them to win 4 more games than they did last season, I just don't see it, Ryan.
Yeah, I saw 6.5, and is the book you're looking at, is that plus 130 or plus 135 to go over 6.5?
Yeah, plus 116 to the over, minus 142 to the under.
Okay, yeah. So, take your pick, whether you want to go 5.5 and pay the juice, or if you want to play, if you really like these Texans and think that they're going to make a run, maybe they could get to 7 wins, but I'm kind of on an early lean with you. But I mean, that's why we dive into the schedule, because there's been teams where I'm like, oh, they're going to suck. And then you dive into the schedule, situational spots. And you're like, hey, you know what? Maybe they're not so bad after all. You mentioned it. D'Amico Ryans comes over from San Francisco, defensive coordinator for all those good teams. I think he's going to bring a level of excitement. I think they're different from some of these bad teams where I agree with you that there's some hope here in the future. Hopefully CJ Stroud is the guy going forward. They trade for Will Anderson from Alabama, trade back up. Dameon Pierce was a pleasant surprise last year. He had a monster year. But let's dive into the schedule, and we'll talk the first quarter of the season. They're a heavy dog in Baltimore week number 1. I think they're a 9.5-point dog. Then they go Indy for the home opener. They should have won that game last year in week 1. Then they go to Jacksonville, and then they got Pittsburgh. What would you say record-wise in that first quarter for these Houston Texans?
1-3. 1-3. I can't see them going into the bank and beating Baltimore. Indiana at home, they should win this game. Like you said, they should have won last year. Going to Jacksonville, Duval County is a tough place to play. I don't think that's a good spot for them. And then at home against Pittsburgh, who I know you guys just did the AFC North. I'm very high on Pittsburgh. I think they're going to be a really good team this year. So I don't see them winning that either. And then people say they can beat Atlanta in week 5. I don't see it going on the road. I think they could be 1-6 going into the bye.
Yeah, I think I side with you here. I think best case. You mean 1-5 going to the bye?
1 into the 5. Right
before, yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Dylan. Maybe best case scenario going to the bye 2-4. I can't see 3-3. Yeah. They're not going to go to ball. I mean, we know the stats on Harbaugh in week 1 too. They've been really, really good in week 1. They won in Jacksonville last year, but I mean, what are the odds that they're going to win back-to-back years at Trevor Lawrence, at Doug Pederson? They're going to take another step. I like Pittsburgh as well. Go check out our AFC North division preview last night. Atlanta's a hard place to play as well. Do I give them 2 headed into the bye?
And then Alvin Kamara is going to be back.
Yeah. I'll give them 2 headed into the bye. I'll be generous. So you got them 1-5. I got them 2-4. But I agree. It's either 2-4, 1-5, maybe even 0-6. So trying to be generous here on that.
I know.
But I'm not trying to shit on all these teams because there's going to be plenty to go around. Next 4 coming out of the bye at Carolina, Tampa Bay. So they got the NFC South back-to-back. Shit, they play 4 straight against the NFC South. At Atlanta, New Orleans, at Carolina, Tampa. And then their next 2 games are at Cincinnati and Arizona. So what do you got them in their next 4 in that 2 NFC South game and then Cincinnati and Arizona?
I think Carolina is a toss-up. I think it's a 50-50 game. I think they can go in there and win. I know it's on the road, but I'll give it to them. I'll give them Carolina. They're only favored in the whole season. They're only favored in 3 games. Tampa Bay, Arizona, and the Indianapolis game at home in week 2. I think they could beat Tampa because either Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield is, it's not a recipe.
Not intimidating.
At Cincinnati, I think they lose that. And then this game's going to be circled. Arizona, like we said, they traded up a lot of draft capital to Arizona to trade up and get Will Anderson. So I think they're going to want to win that game at home. So the next 4 games, I think they go 3-1.
Okay. Yeah, no, So I had him on the generous side before the bye, 2-4. You had him 1-5 and then you got him 3-1. So that gets them to 4-6 with 10 to go. Yeah. I'm gonna split it here, and we'll both be at 4-6 with these guys coming down the stretch. So actually, the over might be in play now that we're coming down the stretch 4-6. That's why I like doing the schedule game, just because you never know. You may be higher on a team than you realize when you start breaking it down from a schedule standpoint. Next 4 up on the schedule. Actually, I'll go next 4. We'll go Jacksonville at home, Denver at home. Then they got a back-to-back road spot in the middle of December. At the New York Football Jets with Aaron Rodgers, and then at the Tennessee Titans. Can they get 1 here?
I mean,
maybe Denver.
I want to, just because of the comments. I want them to beat Denver, but I don't know. I think they will be better with Sean Payton. I think Jacksonville sweeps them. Maybe they could beat Denver. I don't think, like you said, back-to-back road games in December and in cold environments here in the Northeast is going to be cold, and Tennessee is a cold place as well. Maybe they could get Tennessee. I think they have a better shot at Tennessee than they do at Denver. So I'll give them one. I'll give them 1-3 the next 5. So I got them at 5-8 or 5-9.
5-9 going down the
5-9.
stretch. Yeah, I think they'll get one out of here. Either the Tennessee, maybe they get Jacksonville at home because for some reason they always give Jacksonville fits. So maybe they squeak out one. So we both got them 5-9, and here we go, Deshaun Watson coming back in for the holiday season on Christmas Eve. The NFL never disappoints. How about that? Yeah, so they got Cleveland and Tennessee at home, and then at Indy. So it actually finishes relatively favorable in the last 3 games, last 3 games of the season.
Yeah, they got to finish 2-3 in their last 3 to go over this total. This is the other game. I said they're going to have 2 games circled on the schedule. The Arizona in week 11 and then week 16 at home when Deshaun Watson makes his return. I mean, they should get up for this game, but I just don't think they have the talent to compete with the Browns. So I will go with a loss there. So that's 5-10 at home against Tennessee. I don't think they beat them, especially if Tannehill is there. So 5-11. And I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll give them on the road against Indianapolis, but that still doesn't get it over. So I still got 6-11.
6-11. Yeah, so this number's actually perfectly placed. I got him pulling the Christmas miracle. I got him beating Deshaun Watson, pulling the upset because they actually played last year and they should have beat him. But the Cleveland defense was able to return 2 interceptions for touchdowns. I think they get this win, and then I got them splitting the last 2. I got them 7-10. So it's actually a successful season, all things considered, for Houston to be 7-10. So I guess actually I lean over on the Houston Texans, which I did not think I was going to be, but hey, that's why we play the scheduled game. Any player props that you're looking at for these Houston Texans? Maybe CJ Stroud or somebody?
Yep. Yeah, CJ Stroud, my Ohio State guy. I like his passing yards, 3,075.5. I like that to go over. Davis Mills last season threw for 3,118. And I think we could both agree CJ Stroud is an upgrade from Davis Mills. No disrespect.
Yes.
I like Davis Mills, but CJ Stroud is just on a different level. One of his abilities coming out of college was his accuracy in the pocket, the way he broke down coverages and read defenses. So there are going to be plenty of games where they will be down trying to play from behind. So I think we'll get a bunch of garbage time passing yards. So over 3,075 at -118. I like that. I also lean Dameon Pierce over 850.5 rushing yards. I think that's extremely low for a guy who played 13 games and he almost rushed for 1,000 yards. I got to go over Dameon Pierce as well.
I'm going to side with you on Stroud. I like the angle that potentially, especially early on, that they're playing from behind. So he racks up those passing yards. Yeah. Yes, I agree. He's got a better arm and he's more talented than Davis Mills. I actually really like Davis Mills as a backup quarterback. I kind of really like this quarterback room. If Stroud can be the guy going forward. I like that. You said 3,075 yards.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm seeing that too. So I'll lean to the over on that for Stroud for my player prop. I think he's got a chance to be the guy there. I really do.
Yeah, I do too.
He showed me a lot against Georgia in that final game at Ohio State.
100%. He could have won the game, I thought. And you mentioned the quarterback room. I think Davis Mills is a good, I guess, teacher to kind of show CJ Stroud the ropes a little bit, because down the stretch, I don't know if it was 2020 or 2021, the past few games towards the end of the season, Davis Mills was pretty good, I thought. And I just don't know what happened. Maybe it was a lack of confidence, but I agree. I do like the quarterback room, and he only needs to average 180 yards per game. And I think he'll do it. I mean, there's a lot to go on in this wide receiver room. That's where I think they have to, they're waiting for Nico Collins to be that number one. John Mechie, I mean, the guy, and when he was at Alabama, he was a stud. So if he could come and stay healthy, I think he adds another layer to that defense. And or offense, excuse me. And they got rid of Brandon Cooks. You know, they heard rumors about that last year, but they bring in Robert Woods, another veteran. So and Dalton Schultz they did bring in as well, which I'm not really high on Dalton Schultz, but I do think they have some pieces. There's a lot of upside to this team.
I really like the Robert Woods move. He's a vet. He's been around the league, been on really good teams with the Rams, Titans. Good mentor to Nico Collins, who's headed into his third year. So, yeah, no, I like this wide receiver room, and that gives Stroud two legitimate wide receivers on the outside. And you mentioned it, Schultz in the middle of the field. It'll be interesting to see him finally not as a Dallas Cowboy. He goes over to the other team in Texas. I think the main thing, if you're worried about Houston, is the offensive line once again. If that offensive line can hold up and keep the young quarterback, I mean, hell, I feel like that's the narrative every year with these young quarterbacks. Can they protect? There's a reason why they were picking 1 or 2 in the draft. Their offensive line probably sucks. So, yeah, I'm with you on Stroud. Before we dive into the next team in the AFC South, we got to talk about the parlay play because we're brought to you by it. And the parlay play is a great way to get down on your favorite parlay player props. Football season is right around the corner, and parlay play will have all your favorite player props. Parlay play is available in tons of states, even California and Texas for you Houston Texans fans out there. Plus, our good friends have a North parlay play available in the provinces in the great country of Canada. Oh, Canada. And when you sign up with our code, you'll get a sweet bonus to get started. A parlay play I like. I'll tease it. I like some Jacksonville Jaguars, so stay tuned. I'll give out some Jaguar parlays, maybe parlay with Trevor Lawrence. And head over to parlayplay.io and use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's the parlayplay.io promo code SGPN. And we are back on the NFL Gambling Podcast, Dylan and myself, and we're talking this next franchise, Indianapolis Colts. Dan Snyder's out of the league, so Jim Irsay now is the biggest clown owner in the NFL. So let's recap the Colts because what a dumpster fire this was last year.
Real quick, Ryan. I wanted to get your thoughts. What's going on with Jim Irsay and my boy Jonathan Taylor? Are they going to get a deal done before week 1, or do you expect them to hold out? Because like we've seen history, like Le'Veon Bell holding out, he didn't really get what he wanted.
That was on part of my recap where
My bad.
I'm like, I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to. I don't understand the situation where I think that Irsay's fine with not paying him. I mean,
yeah,
he's not going to give him a new deal. He's like, all right, just don't play. You running backs are very dispensable. So I mean, I don't know, man. I don't really have a good feel for the situation. It's kind of weird. How about you?
I mean, a lot of people got mad at what Jim Irsay said, but it's factual. He's not wrong at all. Like, I might not agree with it, but he's not wrong. They are dispensable, but I agree he should be making a little more money, but he's not worth Christian McCaffrey money, and he's not going to see that, and Jim Irsay will not pay that. They went out and they signed a couple veteran running backs for 1 year. I don't really know. I just really hope they would have solved it because it would have relieved a lot of pressure off of Anthony Richardson. You know, coming into this offense, you know, new head coach. They got the offensive coordinator from Philadelphia as their new head coach. So I think in a first year, you need a solidified running back, and I think that would have taken a lot of pressure off Anthony Richardson. I don't know if they get a deal done, to be honest. I don't know if he ever plays for the Colts again.
I think I lean to that. It sounds like he's fine with not playing, and Irsay seems to be fine moving on from him. So I don't know, man. This is a weird situation. I usually have a prediction on stuff, but not this one. And I have a typo in this too, because their over-under is not 9.5. Their over-under is 6.5. So, yeah, that is a typo. That switch. There you go. For those watching on YouTube.com, there's no way that this team is 9.5. Maybe when Peyton Manning was there, but not here. So yeah, I mean, you stole right from me with Jonathan Taylor. That's the headline coming into this year. They go what 4-12-1, and they were a complete dumpster fire. Frank Reich last year, and they go to Jeff Saturday. Sam Ellinger plays quarterback. Nick Foles plays quarterback. What are your thoughts on these Colts outside of Jonathan Taylor? I mean, Richardson, 4th overall pick. I don't know. I think you and I are both in agreement that we're down on this team because they have drama off the field and they're not very talented.
Yeah, not very talented. There's a lot of holes in this team. I mean, and then who's their running back now? You got Zach Moss, and I don't want to speak for you, but I'm not high on him either. Michael Pittman Jr. is okay. Alex Pierce is okay. Defense, they got rid of their best corner in Stephon Gilmore. They drafted a corner from Kansas State in the 2nd round, Julius Burts. But other than that, I mean, they didn't really trade anyone. They didn't get anyone. They got a new edge rush, excuse me. But other than that, I mean, this team is not looking good. They do have the easiest schedule out of the 4 teams in the AFC South, but when you're favored in only 2 games, had a 17, I mean, the recipe is not at all. So I think I like Anthony Richardson, but I guess the question mark for him and a lot of the questions coming into this season is his game time. He only played 12 games at Florida, so.
Yeah, and everybody fell in love with him it was the Utah game, the week 1, and then he was up and down. I mean, you can see the raw talent. The ball flies off his arm, and obviously he's electric, kind of like Justin Fields when he gets in space. But are they kind of like Stroud? Are they able to protect here? Let's dive into the schedule. Oh, man. So they start with Jacksonville, then back-to-back road spots at Houston, at Baltimore, and then they play the Rams. Actually, a decent start. Kinda, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. 1-3?
I got them losing week 1. I think. See, now I feel like I might contradict myself with going back and forth with the Houston and Colts.
It's the problem with picking them in the same episode.
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of people are down on the Rams this season, which I don't really necessarily think. I think their win total's at 5.5, and I think they could win 6 games. But I'll give them 1-3 in their first 4. I'll give them 1-3. I think they could beat either Houston or the Rams.
I think I go 0-4. And I failed to mention new head coach Shane Steichen. I never can pronounce his name. Offensive coordinator for the Steichen, from the Eagles. Coach of the QB sneak. Sirianni started slow. I think they're going to start slow here. I think the shelves are a little bit bare here. I'm with you on the Rams. I think the Rams, you want to play them late rather than early because they have all those depth issues. I think Stafford, Kupp, and Donald are all healthy here, and it's a mismatch. So I got 0-4 because I picked Houston, so I can't pick them both to win the game. So I'll stay with Houston. So all right, let's move along because in the second quad, you got them 1-3, I got them 0-4. You got Tennessee at Jacksonville, Cleveland, and New Orleans. So 3 out of 4 at home.
Yeah, tough.
They're just like you said, they're only favored in 2 games, so it's hard to find some wins, man.
For me, they're gonna lose to Tennessee. On the road in Jacksonville is a very tough place to play. Then you're at home. I'm high on Cleveland. I gotta go 0-4. I gotta go 0-4. I'm sorry.
So I had him 0-4, and you had him 1-3. I'll flip it. I'll go 1-3 here. So we both got him at 1-7. I can guarantee which one they're not going to win. They're not going to win in Jacksonville because they couldn't win in Jacksonville when they had actual good teams against all those shitty Jacksonville teams. Now the roles are reversed. They're going to get fucking whacked in Jacksonville. So that might be a game we outline where Jacksonville just puts Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan are still throwing interceptions down there.
Did you see that picture of Carson Wentz with the 3 team? He looked like an orphan child with just taking clothes out of just every team. It was bad.
Yeah, keep him away from the Redskins. I don't need to see Carson Wentz play for my
By the
team
way,
ever
I'm
again.
glad you said that. On my pod, we were like, what should we do with the name? Is it Commanders? Because, they have these issues. But my buddy and me, we're like, we grew up with the Redskins. I went to college down in the DMV, and everyone calls them the Redskins. We're calling them the Redskins this year. I don't care.
Oh, hell yeah. No, I called them the Skins last year. Actually, I didn't even say Redskins. I just said Skins last year. But now, I mean, it's on the betting board, so it's free game. But, I mean, it was ridiculous that it got switched. I don't want to go down that alley. You and I probably could. We'll start going off, and people will tune us out right away if they agree that the name should have been changed. But one thing I will not call them is the fucking Commanders, because that, like Colby says, talk about the worst name in sports. I mean,
that's
the
worst. They were better when they were just the Washington football team. Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah, yep. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, the Redskins are not in this. Actually, I kind of wish they were in this AFC South. They might actually be able to. Yeah, no, no doubt. So, yeah, let's get back to the AFC South. Where are we at? So we both got them 1-7 through Halloween. Not very good. At Carolina, then they go. Oh yeah, then they go to New England. Is that a Germany game or London game?
I think it's international. I don't know if it's either Germany or London, but it is one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and no, I got to imagine New England really travels just with all the years of Tom Brady and that brand with New England, even though he doesn't play for him. Coming off the bye, they got Tampa Bay and at Tennessee. All right, it gets a little softer here, Dylan.
Yeah, I think they have a chance at Carolina. I'll give them Carolina on the road. Then I think they lose to the Patriots. I think Bill Belichick against rookie quarterbacks. We all know how that goes.
Yeah.
Then they're under bye week 11. Then they're home against Tampa. I think they could win that. And then they're on the road in Tennessee. So I'll give them 2-2 here.
I like that. 2-2 for me too. So that's 3-9 for both of us. Headed into the last 5 games. Over under 6.5. So they gotta go on a little run here. At Cincinnati, that ain't a good start. Pittsburgh. No. At Atlanta, Vegas and Houston, both at home to end. So last 2 were favorable, but tough first 3 right there in the last 5.
Yeah, I don't think they win in Cincinnati. Like I said, I'm high on Pittsburgh. I don't think they win there on the road in the Dome in Atlanta.
Especially
I think that's
December.
Yeah, that's a tough game as well. Tyler Heineke's a baller. He's a winner. I mean, I remember. I don't want to keep bringing up the Redskins, but man, that game against Tampa Bay in the playoffs. I mean, he gave him a run for his money. So. He's a winner. I think that's a tough game on the road. I think they could beat Las Vegas just because I think they're going to be sellers at the deadline. So I think they could win at home there. And then I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and I think they'll beat them. So 2-3 in their last 5.
So you got them 5-12. I think I got them 1-3 or 1-4. So I got them 4-13. You got them 5-12. But either way, that's well under. I mean, so this. Let me ask you this. Should we look into some props for them to get the number 1 pick next year? Could this thing go really, really bad? Could we paint a picture where this thing goes really, really bad?
Yeah, because I think we're generous and we're giving them some games when I don't think they're a given that they're going to win. Like Carolina, I don't think that's a shoe-in. Even Houston, I think if Houston catches strides, I think they have a better coach than the Indianapolis Colts, and I think CJ Stroud is better than Anthony Richardson. So yeah, things could go south. I think. What are the odds for them to get the number 1 seed or the number 1 pick?
Yeah, I was going to say, oh boy, I'd like to see those odds of them to get the number 1 seed. I'm pulling it up, but let me ask you this too: if they were to get the number 1 or 2 pick, I don't think they're as bad as Arizona.
No, I don't. Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. Would they go quarterback again if they're in the top 2?
I don't think
Williams, Drake May.
I mean, he's gonna go one or 2. Those 2 quarterbacks are the best in college football. I think he would have went 1 this year, to be honest. Caleb Williams, but I don't. I mean, you never know with Jim Irsay. He's crazy. You really never know.
He's fucking nuts. I know.
You never know. And if Anthony Richardson isn't good, they might just blow it up and draft another quarterback. So I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that he does it. Jim Irsay likes to keep us on his feet. And by the way, did you hear the whale story? He paid all this money for the whale to be in captivity, but he's not going to pay his running back, which is insane.
He's a nut job, and he's doing other shit behind the scenes, aka snorting something. But yeah, no, he's fucking crazy. I'm trying to find it. I don't know if they released the worst record teams yet. I know that'll be out any minute. I'm looking at the number one pick to be the draft next year. Caleb Williams minus 500, Drake May plus 550. So I mean, I kind of think that if they are in 1 or 2, they're going to go with the quarterback just because it's Jim Irsay.
My question is for you. I don't think the Colts will have the number one pick. I do think they're a little better than Arizona, especially with Kyler Murray not being there. But God forbid, just hypothetical, just shooting the shit. If the Raiders wind up getting the number one pick and everything goes south and Jimmy G gets hurt again, they're going to draft Caleb Williams. They have to.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be Caleb Williams and Drake May, and I know the books are telling you that too, but I know it's not a bold take, but I think definitely, I mean, I've seen people compare Caleb Williams already to Patrick Mahomes. Now, I think that's a little steep. I think we need to see it a little bit, but I mean, the talent, there's no doubt in the talent. So, so keep an eye out if you guys see some odds on Indianapolis to land the number one pick. We don't think so, but it might be worth a long shot playing because you never know what Thursday. It could spiral out of control like it did last year, because that it's a dysfunctional organization. All right, that's enough Colts talk for the time being. Oh, did you have any player props?
Yeah, I did have one, and I'll target Anthony Richardson, and I'll go over his passing yards as well. 2,475.5, minus 112. This number seems extremely low. I mean, he only needs to average 146 yards per game, and if he can stay healthy and play every game, I think he can do that, even with this receiving core. In only 12 games last season, we mentioned he only played 12 games at Florida. He threw for 2,549. So Matt Ryan, he only played 12 games last season, and he threw for over 3,000 yards. So again, another situation where I think they're going to be down in a lot of these games where we're going to get a lot of garbage time passing yards. So 2,475.5, that seems extremely low. So I'll go over that for Anthony Richardson.
I like it because it's playing back into the narrative that we talked about with CJ Stroud, where these bad teams are going to fall behind. I mean, so they're playing catch up, and these guys might not be bad options fantasy wise for you fantasy football fans out there. If you need 100%. To fill in for a bye week, if you get a right matchup, I mean, you could start Stroud or Richardson for a week, even on a bad team. So,
and both of those players are going to run too.
Exactly. So I'm interested to see if Richardson can have a similar impact like Justin Fields did in terms of with his legs, because they both are fun and athletic. But the other side of things, can they stay healthy? Because I mean, we just see these guys that run, Lamar Jackson, going all the way back, RG3, those guys. I mean, they struggle to stay healthy. It is what it is. I mean, Cam Newton was 260, and he still struggled to stay healthy.
Yeah, 100%. Even Big Ben, as big as he was, he even relaxed on the running two down the stretch.
Yeah, no, he was enjoying his offseason. Big Ben.
Oh yeah,
I love me some Big Ben. So
me too.
All right, let's move along to the Tennessee Titans, which was a disappointing team. We already talked about it. Lost their last 7 games. Tannehill went down. Everybody knows the head ball coach in Tennessee, Mike Vrabel. Can you believe that Vrabel has been the head coach already for the Tennessee Titans for how many
5 years?
Has it been? 5. Yeah, this is year number 6. So he won the division 3 straight years, and then finally a step back here in 7-2. They kept talking about how he kept overachieving the Pythag, wins by 2 to 3 games. It finally came crashing down last year. King Henry was banged up. Could we see a bounce back with these Titans here, Dylan?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I like the over. I mean, for their win total. I know we'll go through the schedule, but I do. I think they have a tough start, but towards the back end of the schedule, they they have some very favorable games. So I see about 8-9 wins. But yeah, I do like this bounce back, regardless of who's at quarterback. I like Derrick Henry. I think he's fully healthy. The wide receiver room is very questionable still, but their offensive line needs to get better. But also, they were dealing with a lot of injuries last season. So they did draft the offensive tackle, gonna butcher his name, Shashinsky from Northwestern. I think he was a stud as well. They got Tyron Spears, the running back from Tulane, he's a up and down back. I love him and Derrick Henry in the backfield, but I like what they're doing. I don't agree. They're only favored in 4 games this season, but I like them. I think there's some very winnable games on this schedule, especially with variable. I know a lot of people, you were saying how, Pythagorean theorem where they zig and they zag, but he's a good coach. He gets the boys going. And whenever you count out the Tennessee Titans, you look up and you're like, damn, they won 9-10 games this season.
Yes, 100%. I mean, that 2 years ago, they were the 1 seed.
Yeah,
they were 7-3. Yeah, they were 7-3 last year before Tannehill goes down, and they should have won the division. I mean, they should have won in Jacksonville. They collapsed because they didn't have the quarterback play. Dobbs was playing quarterback.
Oh my God.
Yeah, let's. Oh yeah. By the way, so we say we're leaning to the over here. Actually, it might be a lock. But we'll dive into the schedule. Over under set at 7.5, plus 350 to win the South, 60 to 1 to win the AFC. 101 to win the Super Bowl. All right, let's kick it off. They go to the Dome to start New Orleans. Then they play L.A. or San Diego, whichever you prefer, at Cleveland, and then Cincinnati. Boy, you weren't lying about this tough start.
Yeah, I think they could legit start 1-5, maybe 2-4, being generous. Like maybe they could be on the road, but it's no easy place to play in the Dome in New Orleans. And I know they'll be without Kamara, so maybe that will help them, but I don't think that's an easy game. Then they're home against the Chargers, who I think they'll blow them out. On the road in Cleveland, that's tough. Home against Cincinnati. The good thing about, if you look at their schedule, all their hard games are at home, which is good. But yeah, I think they'll beat Indianapolis. Then they're home against Baltimore. Then it's a bye. But yeah, it's the international game for Baltimore as well. I think they're
them in Baltimore always. Yeah, they always play a tough game. It's always physical as hell.
Maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll go 2-4 in their first 6.
That's what I'm thinking. 2-4, and I think you made a good point about Vrabel. Whenever he's a dog, man, that's when you want to back him. So yeah, I think they'll pick off one that we're not seeing. So 2-4 coming out of the bye. Then they go to Atlanta, then 3 straight road spots at Pittsburgh, at Tampa, at Jacksonville. So back-to-back Florida spots after going to Pittsburgh. Fuck, who did they piss off?
Yeah, right. I think they'll win against Atlanta. I think they're a better team. It's a toss-up. It's a pick 'em right now. Obviously, lines will change against Pittsburgh, but that's a Thursday night football game. So prime time, eyes will be on. It's a standalone game, so that's going to be up in the air. I think they're on the road in Tampa Bay. I think they'll win there, and then they finish the road trip in Jacksonville, which I don't think is an easy spot, and they're going to be dying to get home. So I think they'll lose that game. So
yeah,
I'll give them 2 wins. I don't think they beat Pittsburgh. I'll go 2-2.
We're seeing eye to eye. I got the Atlanta, then they win the sandwich game there in Tampa Bay, and then they get drilled at the end of the road trip. 2-2. So what? 4-6 headed into the final stretch. Carolina, Indy, at Miami. What about that 3-game stretch right there?
Yeah, I think they could go 2-1 here. I think 2 easy soft spots before you go on the road in Miami. And you know how it's tough late in the season, all year, to play in Miami because they put you on the hot side when they're in the shade. So they're kind of
Monday night too.
Yeah, Monday night game. So I don't like that, but I'll go 2-1 here. So 6-7.
Yep, I'm with you. They protect home field. Go 2-1 here. Lose the 1 in Miami on Monday night. Tyreek Hill under the light. Jalen Waddle. So what? That's 6-7 coming into the last 4. We need them to go 2-2 down the stretch to hit the over. And this is what we're talking about: Houston at home, Seattle at home, at Houston, Jacksonville. Jacksonville potentially resting guys. This is a good finish here, I think.
100%. That's why I was alluding to earlier that the second half of the schedule gets a little easier. I think I'm actually a little down on Seattle this year. I think Geno got his payday. I think he's going to regress a little, but I think they go 3-1, possibly 4-0. Like you said, if Jacksonville is ahead of the curve, they might be resting players for the playoffs. So 3-1, 4-0 at best, or 3-1 at best, 4-0 at worst.
I'm with you, man. I think they win those first three, and then Jacksonville, I think they're going to beat Jacksonville. I'll go 4-0, 10-7. This is an over. And I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think you might get two teams actually from this division because they have the benefit of beating up on the Colts and Texans. Compared to, like, you look at the AFC East, there's no cupcakes in that division. You look at the North, there's no cupcakes. And then the West, yeah, the Raiders are a cupcake, but those teams in the East and North don't have the Colts and Texans.
Where do you see the AFC North or the AFC East maybe not having three teams? Who are you going to leave out? That's my question then. If they make it.
I was just thinking that because we went through it and I had Cleveland as a 10-7. So I think there's going to be a bundle of teams once again at 10-7. I could see the Dolphins being 10-7. I could see your Jets being 10-7. I could see them being better. Hell, I'm not counting out Bill Belichick. I know it's not sexy the way they play, but you can't count out the Hall of Famer, and you can't count out Pittsburgh. So I'm gonna look right now to see what it is for Tennessee just to make the playoffs. I think Jacksonville is gonna win this division. We'll touch on them in a minute. Where are you going for your player prop here, Dylan?
Yeah, real quick. I think I have it for Tennessee to make the playoffs. They are plus 198, almost 2-1 to make the playoffs, minus 250 not to. So the books don't have them making the playoffs, but you're getting a 2-1 ticket. I think it's worth a flyer, right?
That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm saying. Like, because you got two avenues here where they maybe I don't want to play the injury game, but if Lawrence goes down, then the division's right there to grab. If not, they could sneak in, backdoor their way into that 7 seed with the expanded playoff. So, yeah, I like that 2-1 ticket for Tennessee. But I think this over is lock potential for both of us.
100%. I think it was a little juicy. It's at minus 125, but sometimes the juice is worth the squeeze. And I think going through this schedule, I think these head-to-head, because I agree. I think you could see a lot of teams ending at the same record. So when you face off with the Chargers, when you're facing off against Cleveland, Miami, you need to beat these teams.
Yeah.
So I agree.
And they got them all in their schedule.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I think they need to win these head-to-head games. So, yeah, I think my favorite play is the over. You were mentioning the player prop. I'm going to go King Henry. I'm going to go over 8.5 rushing yards. I know it's a little chalky as well, minus 128, but he hasn't gone under this number since 2017. Even in 2021, where I'm going to use air quotes, kind of had a down year where he missed half the season, he was still able to get double-digit touchdowns. 8.5 is just disrespectful. I know their offensive line is questionable. Taylor Lewan retired, but just the eye test is showing us he's just too good not to get double-digit touchdowns every year, especially when they get down at the goal line. You can't tackle this guy in open field and one-on-one. So he's going to run you over. I know it's a little chalky, but just on principle, I think we have to go over Derrick Henry rushing touchdown prop at 8.5.
Yes, it's a culture play. It's Derrick Henry. I mean, as long as he stays healthy, yes, I do worry a little bit. I was pulling up how many carries he's had over the previous years, all those 300-plus attempts per year. And I know at one time we did think he was immortal. Last year he had 350 carries. The 2 previous years before that, 378 and 303. He got hurt in 2021. But they've also proven they can win without King Henry too. Another reason why I like the team. But as long as King Henry stays healthy, I'm with you. I like over 8.5. Like you said, he's gone double-digit touchdowns the last 5 years. Count me in on King Henry's over. Let's go into our final team here. The Jacksonville Jaguars are a heavy favorite. I don't know what the hell is going on this planet. Urban Meyer, yes, was coach there a year ago. Doug Pederson comes over, completely flips the culture, 9-8, touch on it, won 8 out of their last 10. Trevor Lawrence was a stud down the stretch. Completely different out of that bye. Over under 9.5, minus 150 to win the South. That is not a typo. 14-1 to win the AFC, 30-1 to win the Super Bowl. Is this too much love for the Jags, or is this right, Dylan?
I think the number is right at 9.5. I do worry about all the hype, just like how I worry about all the hype around my Jets. I do not like it. I like flying under the radar, but you mentioned the odds,
No
minus
doubt.
155, and they actually opened up minus 170, and the number has come down, which I don't understand. Maybe we forgot to touch on it, but maybe it's the D-Hop effect going over to Tennessee, but I mean, he doesn't push the needle that much, in my opinion, but I mean, minus 155, I don't really like to tie up my money, especially if it's that chalky, so the number seems right. I'm not going to touch it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if you want to play the Jaguars, I think you go with the win total, because we just touched on it. Both of us think, because like D-Hop, and I'm with you. I like D-Hop, but D-Hop is still on the older side of things, and it's still Ryan Tannehill throwing the ball, so who's more of a game manager. I think Tennessee's going to be around that 8-9, maybe even 10 win mark. So I think you play the over, because if they're under that, they're missing the playoffs and they're not going to win the South. So if you think that they're going to win the division, they're going to have to be around 11 wins. So it's definitely over that 9.5 win total. Let's go into this schedule here. Yeah. We got, where did my tab go? Here we go. All right, so interesting start here at Indy, which we both chalked up as a win when we did the Colts preview. Yeah. Then, I mean, hey, talk about a game you circle. You got Kansas City coming down to South Florida, or not South Florida, just Florida. That's Miami. Then you got Houston coming, and Atlanta, and Buffalo. So back-to-back international spots after 2 home games. So only 1 true road game in the first 5.
Yeah.
First 6.
First 6. Yeah, I was just going to say first 6.
Yeah.
So only 1 true away game, and that's to start the season, which I think we chalked up as a win. They get Kansas City, who they played very tough last season. They get them at home. I kind of would want to play the Chiefs later in the season, to be honest, than early on, just because everyone's going to be healthy and Patrick Mahomes is going to light them up, I think. So I'll chalk that up as a loss. I'll go 3-2 their first 5, because I do think Buffalo is the better team, regardless if it's an international game. I think they beat the Falcons, and then I think they beat Houston. So I'll go 3-2 their first 5.
I'm gonna go 4-1. I think they have an advantage here, staying out in London to play Buffalo. Already
they're
there,
London's team.
Yeah, they are. They never lose in London. I think last year they played in Germany when they played the Broncos. I'd have to go back and look. It was like a rare loss in international game for Jacksonville. I think they're going to split that Kansas City Buffalo game. I could see them beating Kansas City, kind of like a Super Bowl spot, and then maybe having a letdown against the Houston Texans. But no, I'm going to go 4-1. Like I said, I really like this team. I love the way that they finish. And you mentioned they played Kansas City tough in the playoffs, but also in the regular season at Arrowhead as well. So 4-1. Let's talk the next 3 games before the bye. Indy at home, then a tough back-to-back road spot at New Orleans, at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think they beat New Orleans, so 4-2. But Thursday night in the Dome, I think that's going to be a tough spot. Alvin Kamara will be back for that game. I'll chuck that up as a tough spot. I'll chalk that up as a loss. So, and then I think they beat Pittsburgh before their bye. So I'll go 2-1 here.
I'm going 2-1 too. They always give Pittsburgh fits, and back-to-back road spot. I like that second game. I think they lose in the Dome as well. So I got them at the bye at 6-2. You got them at 5-3. Yep. Man, then it gets really good. San Fran out of the bye. Then they got Tennessee at Houston. And then Cincinnati Monday Night Football at home.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, all these hard games are
down in Florida.
You get the Chiefs at home, you get the 49ers at home, which I think they're not gonna be favored in that game, but it's a toss-up. I think they could win that game. So I'll give it to them out of the bye. Doug Pederson has a lot of time to prepare for that game. I'll give them the win. I think they beat Tennessee at home. They stay home there. I think they beat Houston. That's 3. And I'll make them a loss for Cincinnati. So 3-1 at best.
Yeah, I got you. I'm with you. Damn. So they do a good job of avoiding having to go to Kansas City, Buffalo, San Fran, and Cincinnati.
And
I'm with you.
Baltimore's at home.
And Baltimore's at home. So like 3-4 hard spots. I'm with you. I'm going 3-1 here. So that gets me to 9-3. You're at 8-4 coming down the stretch. Last 5 at Cleveland, Baltimore, at Tampa, Carolina, at Tennessee.
Yeah, so tough to back, when they play the AFC North 3 straight weeks. I think that's going to be a little tough. And 2 primetime. You got Sunday night football at home against Baltimore.
Jags are must-see TV in December.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I think they go 3-2. I think Cleveland's a little hard on the road. I think Deshaun Watson's going to have a good year. I think Lamar is also going to have a good year. He's my MVP, I think, this year. So I have them 0-2 there, but then I think they rally off 3 wins. So I'll go 3-2 down the stretch.
And that gets you to 10-7? No, 11-6.
11-6.
11-6. So this is another over for you. Like you said, you rather play the over than the division odds at -150. I got them 3-2 as well. Actually, I might go 4-1, man. I think I'm going to go 4-1, which gets me to 13-4. This schedule's favorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, they're favored in 13 games. The only games their underdogs are in since Kansas City, San Francisco, and Cincinnati. And all of those games are home.
Yeah. No, I mean, it goes back. They got a great draw. And yeah, it makes sense why I got them 13-4 when they're favored. And that makes sense. I'm gonna look at a future here. So obviously I'm staying away from -150. I think the Jaguars, for me, with how high I am on them, I'm going to look for them. What are their odds to be the number 1 seed? Because Kansas City's in a tougher division, Buffalo's in a tougher division, Cincinnati. Maybe the Jaguars could backdoor their way into the 1 seed.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's some value there. The way I'm going to play, because even if you go over their win total at 9.5, it's still a little chalky at -140. I have them, like I said, 11-6 to win exactly 11 games is at +600. I think it's worth a flyer. I mean, we just went through it. At worst, they're 11, maybe 10, but I don't think so. I think Vegas is telling you they're favored in 13 games for a reason. They have a competent head coach. They have Trevor Lawrence, who took that second step. They have the weapons on offense. And we're burying the lead. Calvin Ridley's coming back. He's going to be their number 1 receiver. So I like Zay Jones. He's a nice, deep threat kind of guy. Christian Kirk, he went under the radar last season and had 1,100 yards. They get Evan Ingram. He has a great season. They extend him. And Travis Etienne, a great running back. So they are loaded with weapons. I think what the big thing is how their defense is going to play. If they could stop Kansas City, if they could stop Cincinnati or Buffalo, these juggernaut offenses.
You hit the nail right on the head with Ridley. So D-Hop comes over to Tennessee. That's their free agent acquisition. I think Calvin Ridley's their free agent acquisition from Atlanta. I mean, he sits out for the gambling, so automatically we already like him. And I think, man, the way that they finished last year, I think Trevor Lawrence is alive and well for the MVP. So that'll lead you right into some player props. Do you like some Trevor Lawrence odds here?
No, we were talking about it. I almost got around for him to have the MVP. I think it is worth a flyer because I think in those games, those 3 games, I think that are going to be the toughest for them, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati, because I think San Francisco is a toss-up. I think he's going to ball out. And I think if he wins 2 of those 3 games, he's going to win the division. I think there's a chance he leads the league in passing. So if he racks up all these acclimates, I think there's a chance he does win MVP. So I don't have the odds in front of me right now, but
16-1 to win the MVP. I'm taking that.
Yeah. I mean, I can't blame you. It's worth a squeeze. Like everything I mentioned, I think he is going to take that next step, a second year under Doug Pederson's offense and all these favorable games at home. I mean, it's worth a sprinkle. My official player prop here is going to be the guy coming back, Calvin Ridley, our boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I got it. It's 850.5 receiving yards. It's climbed to 875.5. I still like the over. I think he's a 900 to 1,000 yard receiver. I think he'll be Trevor Lawrence's number one receiver. And prior to him getting suspended, he had 1,300 receiving yards. And I know he's only gone over this number one time in his career, but he's fully healthy. He has one of the best quarterbacks best quarterback in the division, one of the best in the AFC. And, I think we're going to see a breakout year from Calvin Ridley. Like I said, look what we saw in Christian Kirk last season when he was the number one. He went for 12 or 1,100 last season. So I think Calvin Ridley's easy a 900 to 1,000 yard receiver. So 870.5 receiving yards. I got to go over there.
I like it, and because he's playing with the best quarterback he's played with, and that's Trevor Lawrence, and that's why I'm going over 4,050 passing yards for Trevor Lawrence. He was 4,100 last year. I'm going over 26.5 passing touchdowns. And my whole logic on being so high on the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence is the guy that's running the ship, Doug Pederson. Yep. We saw everybody kill. We took jabs at Carson Wentz earlier in the episode. Year 2 of Carson Wentz in Philly was an electric year. He was going to win the MVP before he blew out his knee in LA. That was year 2 of the Doug Pederson. I'm back.
Oh, you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Yeah. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm at the beach, so I'm on my hotspot. I think my phone died. So, but anyway, yeah, no, I like the whole Doug Pederson angle. We saw what happened with Trevor, or not Trevor Lawrence, with Carson Wentz, Nick Foles that year number 2 in Philly. I think you sprinkle some on this 30-1 Super Bowl odds, man, because I think that Jacksonville could make a run at this thing come December and January. And I think they'll be much shorter to win the AFC at 14-1 and 30-1 to win the Super Bowl if they're the 1 or 2 seed, which is what I'm projecting.
Yeah, and I think when the season starts and you get through, the number's going to come down. So I think you got to bounce on it now. And you mentioned it. They play Kansas City extremely tough. And I know Andy Reid's one of the best and Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. But, they might slip. They might slip a game or two, especially if they get into the playoffs. I'm not as high as everyone on the Bills. I think they could beat them. And then you only really have 2 people to worry about in Cincinnati, I guess, and Kansas City. And I think they're live against both teams. So, yeah, I think it's worth a shot at the Super Bowl as well.
Well, there you have it. We just handicapped the whole AFC South. Hey, you know what? We walked into this saying, I don't know if any of these teams are very good, but we ended up higher on the Jaguars and Titans. And actually, we gave out 3 overs. Yeah. We actually give out 3 overs. So sometimes the public narrative can control your thinking until you really dive into it. And maybe you guys agree with us being on some of these overs. But before we get up on out of here, Dylan, tell everybody where to find you. I know you do a bunch of shows on the SGPN like myself. So what you got going on, man?
Yeah, we got MLB grinding away, the dog days of summer. We got a few months left there, so you guys can catch me on the MLB Gambling Podcast. The NFL, we continue to break down, write articles for the NFL. WNBA as well. Playoffs are starting soon, so a lot to get into. But yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter at Rock with 2Ks24.
Yep. And you can find me at Moneyline_Mac. I don't know what division we got up next, but we're cranking them out left and right, and we're going to do player props, and we'll give out our season-long episodes as well as we get closer and closer to Chiefs-Lions. It'll be here before we know it. You got preseason action, so follow the NFL Gambling Podcast. We'll be giving out some preseason plays. Good luck with your preseason week number 1 bets, everybody. Let it ride.